Welcome on back, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. It's mid-season review time, and today we're having a look at the Hawthorn Hawks and how they're going this year. As with all our mid-season review episodes, we'll start off looking at their season so far, how they've been going. We'll have a look at some of their players, who's been their best, who's been underperforming, I guess. What they've still got to come for the rest of the year, and kind of our expectations for them for the rest of 2024. Before we jump into all of that, don't forget that we have plenty of content coming out each and every week. This week's schedule is on the screen right now. We have obviously the round 14 review episode has already gone out on YouTube and Spotify. That went out on Monday, as it does each Monday. Tuesday we had the Adelaide Collingwood mid-season reviews go out. Today this is the Hawthorn one. Later on today we're going to have the Richmond one going out as well. And then Thursday we'll have St Kilda and Western Bulldogs, which will wrap up all 18 teams. So if your team's not this week, it's already been, as we've done each team as their bye comes around. And then we'll finish the week off with the round 15 preview episode, which will go live on Friday morning, at about 8 a.m. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on all my content. It adds up. It's all appreciated. Also, don't forget to check out all my socials. We have Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We've got the lot, so go check it all out. There's plenty of content posted on all of those avenues all the time, so go check all of that out and give me a follow. I appreciate you being here. Let's jump straight into the Hawthorn Hawks and the season that's been so far. And what a tale of two halves it's been. Never more so has it been more prevalent than what Hawthorn have put together this season. Their first 5 weeks, we thought that they were one of the worst teams in the AFL. Certainly pushing towards as bad as, say, a North Melbourne, but since then, their season has really shown some promising signs. So let's go game by game. Week 1, they played against the Bombers. They lost it by 24 points. They had their opportunities in this one and debatably should have won this one. They kicked 11 goals, 17. They had plenty of opportunities and just wasted them throughout the day. Round 2, they went up against Melbourne, who were flying at this point. Obviously, Melbourne lost the first week, but then they did beat the Bulldogs in round 1 and then comfortably, and then came up against Hawthorn and won by 55 points. Hawthorn were never really in this. From the first quarter, they didn't kick a goal, and it just kind of never got really going that week. Round 3 was Geelong at the MCG. This was the Easter Monday game, and it was an up and down sort of game. They started, first quarter was average, second quarter was really good. Third quarter they got blown away, and then fourth quarter was level. So they ended up losing by 36 points, which wasn't too bad of a result really. But they started 0-3 at this point. Was then gather round. They went and played Collingwood over at Adelaide Oval on the Sunday. I think it was the Sunday afternoon game. Yes, it was. And they only lost by 5 points, and it's certainly it's a weird scoreline, this one, because at halftime they looked pretty much gone. They were on 20 at halftime. They were down by 38 points. Things were looking really, really bleak for them, but their second half was really, really good. They came back, almost got in front, couldn't quite get over the line, and lost by 5. Round 5, they went up to the Gold Coast and played against the Suns on the Saturday night, and never really looked in this one. They were down by 3 goals at quarter time, and it just kind of kept steadily growing from that point, and lost by 53 points, and Gold Coast basically doubled their score. Round 6 was the battle of the two teams that hadn't won a game at this point. It was North Melbourne v Hawthorn at Marvel Stadium, and Hawthorn won this easy. Showed that that's clearly a class above North Melbourne. Started well, continued it on. Their second quarter was massive. They scored 51 points in the second quarter, which is by far their best quarter of the season so far. And the funny thing is, that's better than any halftime score they had up until that point in the season. So a really good second quarter and just a comfortable victory in the end, 45 points over North Melbourne to get them on the board. Round 7, they went up against the team that's now comfortably the best team in the league. It was in Melbourne, but Sydney just tore them to shreds. They did kick poorly, 5-12, but they were never really in this game. Sydney just kind of cruised through it. All their big midfielders dominated, and Hawthorn didn't have much to say about it. Round 8, this was up against the Doggies at Marvel, and not one that too many people would have expected the Hawks to win. But they came out and they gave it their all the way through. It was up and down, up and down. They held on late and did what they needed to. Got their second win of the year, won by 7 points. Then they went down to Utah Stadium in Launceston and played against St Kilda. It was a pretty dour, low-scoring game, but they did enough. They won it 58-53. It was, as I said, a low-scoring game. The first quarter was quite high-scoring compared to the rest of the game, but all of a sudden their season's looking great. They've won 3 out of 4. They went to Adelaide Oval, played Port Adelaide, and they'll be ruining this loss, I reckon, because not to spoil anything, but looking at the rest of the season, it's not going to be easy, but it's potential that they will be there or thereabouts in the 8, and this 1 point loss could be costly, because not only is it a 1 point loss, it's a 1 point loss when they looked home and hosed. They were 31 points up at quarter time. Port Adelaide got it back to 22 points at half time, so came back a little bit in that second quarter, but then Hawthorn won the third quarter, got it out to 28 point lead, sorry. But that fourth quarter, Port Adelaide dominated it, but still didn't have the points on the board until the very last moment. With a minute to go, Hawthorn were almost 2 goals clear, 11 points clear. But Port Adelaide kicked a goal with 22 seconds to go from a set shot in front of goal. And then got the quick centre clearance, took it up, and Darcy Byrne-Jones snuck one in through for a 1 point victory and a crazy come from behind win for Port Adelaide. And a heartbreaking loss for Hawthorn, but to their credit, they bounced back the next week. Brisbane at Marvel Stadium. Never looked like losing this. Up 3 goals at quarter time, 4 goals at half time. Brisbane fought their way back into it in the third quarter, but fourth quarter, Hawthorn turned on the Jets again and ended up winning by 25 points in what you could argue is one of their better wins. Probably, they've put together quite a few good wins, to be honest, towards the middle half of this season, so it's debatable which one is their best. Round 12, they played Adelaide at the MCG. Once again, for the second week in a row, they scored over 100 and the third time for the year. Started really well, kicked 34 in the first quarter, 5 goals 4 to lead by 20. Won the second quarter, won the third quarter. They were up by 33 points at 3-quarter time. Adelaide gained a goal on them in the last quarter, but overall dominant display there by Hawthorn in another one that could be argued is their best win of the year. Round 13, they played GWS Giants down at Launceston. And they won this one by 6 points. Poor kicking in front of goal in the first half especially. Looked like it was going to threaten them, their win streak here. They were down by 19 points at half time, which is only the second time since round 6 that they were down at half time. But they came out in that third quarter, kicked 6 goals, and then finished it off in the last quarter. They got headed with about 4 minutes to go, but then Luke Bruce snapped a goal from a downfield free kick to win by 6, and another good win, really good win for Hawthorn. Round 14 was just on the weekend. They won again, 48-point win over Richmond. They were expected to win this based on current form, and they didn't let anyone down. They won all 4 quarters, never looked like getting beaten. Ruined Dusty's 300, but great performance from them there. So after starting 0-5, their season's really, really looking a lot better. They've gone 7-2 over the last 9 weeks. And when we get into the stats in a minute, we'll really have a deep dive into what has changed, because some of the turnarounds that they've had this year in stat categories is just, you wouldn't read about it. It's almost defies belief, really. It seems like it's two different teams. So let's jump into it. The stats for Hawthorn's season. Going quarter by quarter, all of the quarters don't look that great when you put together the whole season, because across the first 5 weeks they only managed to win 5 quarters total. Since then, it's been a lot more positive. They won a lot of quarters. So overall for the season, the second quarters are the only quarter that they're positive in points margin, and really only quarter that they're positive in win-loss record. Third quarter they are 7 wins, 6 losses and a draw, so roughly 50%, but the rest are down. But then if you look at just the last 9 weeks, first quarter they're 6-3 for plus 6.4. Second quarter they're 6-3 for plus 3.3 points per quarter. Third quarter they're 6 wins, 2 losses and a draw for plus 2.7 points a quarter. And the only quarter they struggle in is the last quarter, where they're 4-5 and minus 2.9 points per quarter, which was kind of ruined a little bit, obviously, in that Port Adelaide game when they lost that one by 29 points. But they are overall losing the last quarter quite regularly. A little bit better over the last 4 weeks. They've won 3 of the last 4, but up until that point they had been losing them. The first half is definitely their better half. They're plus 9.8 points in the first half over the last 9 weeks. And in the second half, they're minus 0.2 of a point, so pretty even second half team. So that is just a look at how much their ability to win quarters and point differential has changed. Has it been because they've been playing some easier teams? Maybe, but then again, they've still beaten Bulldogs, who are fighting for a top 8 spot, Port Adelaide, who are in the top 8 and fighting for a top 8 spot, GWS, who are in the top 8 and should be fighting for a top 4 or top 8 spot. So there's been 3 wins in that run that are really against competitive teams. The Richmond one, Adelaide one, and St Kilda maybe against lower ranked teams, but teams that people expected them to be about the level of at best. And even the Brisbane win is a team that has the potential to win really good games, and even beat the Doggies at Marvel as well, beat Melbourne in Melbourne, so a good win, that one as well. A look at some of the other stats. Their disposal count stays pretty similar no matter, even through that first 5 weeks. They don't typically win it too often. They're minus 9.2 disposals per game, and that stayed pretty consistent throughout the year. Same with kicks and handballs, stays very similar throughout. Inside 50s, they're plus 2 on the year, so they do get the ball forward very well. They've improved that even more so over the last 9 weeks. They're plus 4.4, but even the start of the year was pretty solid. It was 2 bad weeks early. The one against Melbourne, they were minus 13, and then the one against the Gold Coast, they were minus 20. Outside of that, they've been really, really consistent at getting the ball forward and really putting that sort of forward pressure onto the opposition. Looking at disposal efficiency, they've got a very high disposal efficiency rating, but it still rates below what their opposition do. So perhaps over the course of the year, they haven't really had the high pressure games. It's a little bit more uncontested potentially, but their number offensively, disposal efficiency wise, is really good. And if they can up their pressure a little bit more, which they kind of have, their tackling game has gone to another level, which we'll look at shortly. we'll probably see the opposition number probably start to get worse in that regard. Forward efficiency, first 5 weeks was really low at 38.8%. That's risen up to 53.1% in the 9 weeks since. So that just shows, I guess, their ability to create scores from these inside 50s. We mentioned just a minute ago that they are really good at getting the ball forward, but those early weeks they struggled to be able to convert that into shots on goal. Whereas in the last 9 weeks, they're up as one of the top ranked teams. I think that's ranked 3 in that 9-week period in the AFL. So really good at forward efficiency over the last 9 weeks, and they've been winning it head to head every week. Defensive efficiency didn't change at all, so it was mainly offensively that has improved. So the defensive efficiency actually has slightly gone downhill since those opening 5 weeks, which is a little surprising, but also not too surprising because they have been conceding less inside 50s, so that tends to come with it. But overall, their forward efficiency improvements is shown why they've improved as a team, really. That has come with other benefits as well, like more scoring, obviously, and other things. There's other things that led to this improved forward efficiency, but that's, I think, the key area that has improved for the Hawthorn Hawks in this last 9 weeks or so. Clearance game, they are slightly down overall, -1.5 clearances per game. Stayed pretty steady most of the season. They are slightly improving, but it's pretty level across the board. Centre clearances, they were really bad for the first 5 weeks. Since then, they have been steadily improving, so that's a positive. Stoppage clearances, it's been even across the year. Their first 5 weeks were solid. The rest of the year's been solid. They had a rough little middle period against like the Bulldogs, St Kilda, Sydney, North Melbourne and Gold Coast in the stoppage clearance game, but overall they were winning a fair chunk of those games. They won 3 out of those 5, so no issues there. They're really good at contested football, +3 contested possessions per game compared to their opposition, so that's a really good number. Stacks them up well in the AFL in rankings. Very, very consistent in that area. There's only been the GWS game, they got beaten in that area, but they won the match, so no concern there. And week 2, they lost to Melbourne quite comfortably in that area, but once again, well, they did lose that game, but that was back when obviously they weren't playing as good football. Uncontested football, they tend to lose this most weeks. They've won it a few weeks, but certainly not often. One of them was North Melbourne, who I don't think it's any massive achievement to win the uncontested footy there. Richmond as well, Brisbane, Melbourne, and the Bulldogs were the other uncontested one. So that is actually quite a decent effort to beat the Bulldogs in uncontested footy. Looking at the turnover game, they're really good at this as well. Turnover football, especially over the last 3 weeks, they've been really good throughout the season. +3.3 intercepts to turnovers for them. Since round 6, they're +5, so even improving slightly more. They were good at it at the start of the year, but they are getting even better, which is a big positive for them. What was I looking at next? Oh, sorry, completely mental blanked on my notes. But first 5 weeks, of football, they led for a total of 19 minutes and 8 seconds. Since that point, they have led for an average of 90 minutes per game. And only once have they led for less than 50 minutes in a match, which is unreal. So the first 5 weeks, they only led twice, for 18 minutes against Essendon and for 1 minute against Collingwood. The other 3 games, they didn't lead at any point. Since then, it's been unreal the amount that they've been leading and doing really well. So like Sydney, they obviously was the one where they only led for 2 minutes. Every other game is really, really high. And yeah, unbelievable, really, the turnaround for them in that regard. The final stat to look at, I guess, here is the tackles. While it's not hasn't really improved that much, to be honest. They're minus 8.2 tackles per game, which has them as a head-to-head record of 3 wins and 11 losses in the tackle count. In the tackle count, which is not fantastic, but obviously not great. But if you compare their wins to their losses, when they win the game, their average tackle count is plus 1.57, and when they lose, it's minus 18. So I don't want to tell Hawthorn how to play football, but that's a massive difference, and something that you'd be certainly focusing on, I think, internally. The fact that, so when they win the tackle count, their head-to-head record in the match is 3 wins, 4 losses. When they lose the tackle count, that 0 wins, 7 losses. So I think it's just something that they really should focus on in that regard, is tackling. No surprises that 2 out of the 3 games that they won the tackle count in were 2 of their better wins. The Bulldogs they won the tackle count by 13. And the GWS game, they won the tackle count by 9. So no surprise that they have good success when they tackle well. And if I was Hawthorn, if I was in their coaching staff right now, I'd be highlighting that fact, because that is a big difference between their wins and losses. There's more to a game of football than just that, but it's certainly something that stands out to me, at least. We'll have a look now at some of the players. I think arguably they've had some really good players, certainly over the last 9 weeks. Sicily's probably season has been a little bit up and down. He's played a few bad games. He's had some really good ones. He was really good on the weekend. I think Dylan Moore has been, in my opinion, the best small forward across the season in the AFL. I reckon he should be certainly in All-Australian contention. He's been fantastic. He's averaging 1.6 goals per game, 18 disposals, per game as well, 3.8 tackles. He goes and gets a couple clearances a game as well. He's just an all-round player that's really putting together a very good season. Carl Lamont has been really good dashing off the back line. He gets a lot of metres gained per game. So he's been really good. Lloyd Meek has been outstanding in the ruck. His development as a key ruckman has been really good. Will Day's been great as a midfielder. Newcomb, I rate highly as a midfielder. I think he's still got a little bit of consistency to work on, but he's got the potential to be a very good player. And I'd also like to see him get forward and kick a few more goals than he does. But overall, outstanding player. De Ambrosio from Essendon has been a great pickup for them. Great acquisition as a wingman. I think he was their best player in week 1. He's been very consistent across most of the year. Connor Nash has been good. Ginnivan's been a good pickup for them. He's maybe down slightly on goals of what he would like, but he's still averaging 1.1 goals a game. He's getting a lot more touches than he was last year. He's averaging almost 16 touches a game. He's had a solid year. What players do they have to improve? I don't know. Gunston is averaging 1.4 goals a game. I think they could be using that position a little bit better in giving it to someone young. I know Mitch Lewis is obviously out at the moment. Do they have any other key forwards? Maybe not. But his game on the weekend was pretty average. Luke Bruce has been good off the bench. got a bit of work to do. Nick Watson's troubles in front of goal is well documented. He's been kicking a lot of points, but I wouldn't write him off as a key prospect going forward. He's certainly got the ability. Charles been really good. He's averaging 1.7 goals per game, and Kaushia Dia is averaging 1.3. So that's pretty good numbers as well for him as a young key forward. That's the brunt of it. Warple's been really good. I didn't even mention him. He's been really good in the midfield. He's their second best contested possession winner, just behind Jai Newcomb. Uncontested footy, obviously, is your running backs and your wings, which is Armon, D'Ambrosio, Sicily. They're really good. Not too bad of a turnover rate for any of those three as well, so that's a good sign for your good ball users. Scrimshaw, I think, was harshly treated early in the year. I think he's one of the better defenders, not maybe in the whole league, but really good for his age and his development. I think he has the potential to be one of the better, certainly intercept defenders, but all-round defenders, in my opinion. That's what I think about him. As I said, Lloyd Meek's playing really good. His ruck work still needs a little bit of work. He gets a lot of hit outs, but he doesn't really have the greatest hit out to advantage record. Like, it's average, but it's not great. So a little bit of work there maybe for him in the stoppage work. But yeah, he's been good. Other than that, yeah, Hawthorn, all their players are trending upwards at the moment, and certainly have the potential to continue to improve and show really good signs. So now we'll just jump into what they've got left this season. Round 16, they head over to the west to play West Coast. That's going to be a very important game for them. If they want to play finals, they're going to have to go over there and win that one. They then have a really tough assignment with Geelong at the Cattery. Cats have lost a couple games there this year, so it's certainly not impossible. And they played pretty solid against them earlier this year when they met in like round 3. Round 18, they host Fremantle down in Launceston. They need to win that one as well. That's just another must-win if they want to play finals. Round 19, they play Collingwood at the MCG. They obviously only just lost to them this year, so they certainly won't be writing that one off as a loss. Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval, they'll need to win that one. They beat them comfortably a few weeks back in Melbourne, so they'll be looking at that as a real opportunity. GWS at Manuka Oval will be a really tough match. They obviously beat them down in Launceston, so again, they'll give themselves a chance. Carlton at the MCG, that's going to be a tough game for them. Richmond at the MCG, you'd think they're going to be able to get over the line in that one. And then they finish with North Melbourne at Utah Stadium to finish the year. So they do finish their last 2 weeks with 17th and 18th ranked teams. So if they're in the hunt with a couple weeks to go, they may well just sneak in. They do play the bottom 4 ranked teams on the ladder at the moment in the rest of the season. So there's certainly some good opportunities to win matches there. It's going to be tough. Their percentage is really quite low. That's going to be one of the 2 concerns. So the percentage is 92.7, which is a lot lower than the other teams around them. So the other teams equal with them on 7 wins at the moment. Are the Bulldogs on 120%, Gold Coast on 108, and Melbourne on 100. Obviously, Melbourne and Gold Coast have played one less game than them as well. Looking at it, you're going to have to win 13 games, I think, to play finals. With their percentage, they might need 14, to be honest. So they're on 7 at the moment. They're going to have to win 6 to give themselves a chance, 7 to guarantee themselves a spot in the finals. Is there 7 wins left in their season? I'm not sure. The West Coast one, they definitely will be putting down as an opportunity. Same with the Fremantle. Same with Richmond and North Melbourne. So there's 4 pretty solid ones that you'd say have to go in as solid favourites. So then they still need to find at least 2, but probably 3 more wins. Where they come, Adelaide at Adelaide Oval's an opportunity. Collingwood maybe, Geelong maybe, Carlton maybe, GWS are all maybes, but probably go in as the underdogs. So they're going to have to get some upsets, is basically what we're saying, if they want to play finals. Not ruling it out by any stretch of the imagination. The last 9 weeks, as I said, has been fantastic. They're 7-2 in that period and looked really good. So certainly don't write them off. But yeah, that's everything I've got for the Hawthorn Hawks. Let me know where you think they're going to finish in the comments below. They're one of the form teams of the comp. There's no doubt about it. The start to the season is probably going to cost them. If they had got a couple extra wins early, they would certainly be top 8 team and be looking confident, really. But they blew at least one game in the Essendon one, and then again the Port Adelaide one as well. So there's two that they wish they probably could get back. But yeah, that's it for Hawthorn. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the Hawks, and I'll catch you on the next one.